So hello, today's topic is Global Gender Gap Report, which has recently been released by World Economic Forum. It says that it will take 134 years to achieve gender parity around the world. Gender parity means the women are equally powerful both economically, politically and socially as compared to men. So let's start the discussion with the key findings of the report. It would take around 134 years, that is till 2158 AD, to reach full gender parity, says the Global Gender Gap Report, which translates into 5 generations beyond 2030 UN SDG target. The Global Gender Gap Score, interpreted as the percentage of the gender gap that has been closed, stands at 68.5% for 2024. So 68.5% gender gap has been closed till 2024, improving by a mere 0.1 percentage from the last year. So from the last year we have achieved only 0.1% of gender parity compared to last year. Notably, 97% of the world's economies have closed more than 60% of the gender gap, a significant increase from 85% in 2006. Let's look at the best and worst country in the terms of gender parity. So Iceland, Finland, Norway, all the Scandinavian country comes to the top of the list, and India ranks 129. And 144, 145 and 146, these three are the most bottom country in the report or in the index. Those are Chad, Pakistan and Sudan. Okay, so come to the next country-wise findings. Of the sample of 146 countries, 50.1% of the economies reported increase in their score across the board. 6.1% showed no change in the score, and 43.8% reported negative changes, means their gender parity has been negative. Top 10, 7 ranks are occupied by European economies, which I have told already that 7 countries, topmost 7 countries are from Europe. Okay, with the remaining 3 spots occupied by New Zealand, Nicaragua and Namibia. Although no country has achieved full gender parity, the top 9 countries, that is Iceland, Finland, Norway, New Zealand, Sweden, Nicaragua, Germany and Ireland, have closed up to 80% of their gap. Okay. Iceland remains at the top, having closed 93.4% of its gender gap, leading the index for over a decade and a half. It remains the only economy in the index to have closed over 90% of its gender gap. But no country in the world has been able to achieve that gender parity of 100%. Okay. So next, come to the key parameters of this findings or of this index. So the first parameter on which they judge, the first parameter is economic participation and opportunity. The second one is educational attainment. Third one is health and survival. Fourth one is political empowerment. So these 4 are the parameters on which, or indicators you can say, on which they decide the index or they decide the report. It is In its assumption of or assessment of 4 indices, the Global Gender Gap Report reveals that the global health and survival gender gap has been breached by 96%. The educational attainment gap has been breached by 94.9%. The economic participation gap by 60.5%, and political empowerment gap have been breached by 22.5%. The sub-index of the economic participation remains the second largest gap to be breached after the political empowerment gap. The political empowerment sub-index with the score of 22.8% shows virtually no progress since last year. On the other hand, the share of women in parliamentary position shows that almost uninterrupted positive trajectory since 2006. Okay, so since 2006 almost no change has been occurred in the position of parliaments for women around the world. Now come to India's scenarios. India closed 64.1% of its gender gap in 2024, ranking the third lowest in the region, only ahead of Maldives and Pakistan. And remember, Bangladesh has ranked 99, the only South Asian country which has a rank of 2-digit. Okay. Despite doing relatively well in the political empowerment parameter as compared to the other 3 indices, India's overall rank is only 129th, marginally lower than last year's 127. This decline is attributed to reductions in educational attainment and political empowerment, although there has been slight improvement in economic participation and opportunity. Okay, so now let's look at findings of different parameters. The representation of women in India's political sphere remains notably low. In the newly formed Council of Ministers, only 7 are women, with only 2 holding cabinet roles, including our Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Educational attainment in India also shows significant gender gaps. The country ranks 112th in this parameter, with a notable disparity in literacy rates between men and women. The economic participation and opportunity for women in India has seen some improvement, although it has not reached the 2012 peak of 46% of economic parity. So in 2012, we were in a much better place of economic parity. So these are the points about India, the findings of different parameters of India. Globally, women make up only 42% of the global workforce and represent just 31% of senior leadership position. I am talking about the global scenario. According to the report, professional networks play a crucial role advancing gender parity in the workforce. Men, typically with larger and stronger networks than women, can draw benefits for increased career progression and more recruiter outreach. So men are getting more advantages compared to women in the workforce. Equitable care systems also show significant gaps, okay, with varying formal protection and provision for parental leaves across regions. So if we compare the paternity leave with maternity leave, the maternity leave has been significantly rising to around 60 days to 90 days for a woman, whereas the paternity leave is only for less than 1 day to 9 days. So women are getting compromised compared to men in case of availability of jobs in the private sectors. Okay. So next, come to the Indian government initiatives regarding how to improve this scenario of gender gap. So come to the health sector initiative first. First one is ICDS. Now you all know that ICDS is a scheme for uh, providing nourishment to the children of 0 to 6 years, and also removing burden from the family members and the mother. Next, Matritva Sahajag Yojana for pregnant and lactating women, Matru Vandana Yojana. These two schemes are for compensation of wage loss during this pregnancy period of these women. And Janani Surakha Yojana also are some of the health sector initiative for women. Now come to the gender gap reduction step scheme, MG Narega. All these schemes are some initiative to reduce the gender gap in the economic sector. In MG Narega, 1/3 of the job has to be allocated to the women in a rural area. Step scheme also does that for the skill development of women, and this step is done by government with the help of different NGOs. Now come to the educational initiative. You all know about Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, that is implemented after the Right to Education Act of 2013. Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya. Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya are those girls' schools where the marginalized or backward class or economically backward sections girls can be enrolled, or they can join the school and study in those schools. Now come to the reservation in parliament. Last year our parliament has passed this women reservations bill, or 106th amendment bill, which says about 33.3 or 1/3 of whole positions are reserved for women. But this has not been implemented yet. It will be implemented after 2026, or after the next census, or after the next delimitation. Next come to female entrepreneurship. To promote female entrepreneurship, the government has initiated programs like Stand Up India, Mahila E-Heart platform, a platform to support the women entrepreneurs. Mahila E-Heart is a platform to support the women entrepreneurs, or self-help groups, or women in NGOs, entrepreneurship and skill development programs, in short form ESSDP. So all these are government initiatives to bridge the gender gap in India. There are more schemes also, like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, or you can say about other scheme like Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. All these schemes are there for addressing the gender gap, or to achieve the gender parity in the future, or so as to say the gender based budgeting also. For this gender based budgeting means government basically, in the times of representing the budget, government basically allocates some portion of its budget for the women population of its country. So this was my discussion regarding global gender gap report of World Economic Forum. I think you have liked the conversation or liked the discussion. Goodbye. Have a good day. Take care of yourself and stay with me.